that have negative value. And he said up to $1 trillion. So there's up to $1 trillion more on top of the TARP. So 1.7 trillion of Treasury money in addition to the 8-9 trillion of Federal Reserve lending for the banks. But nothing. We can't get 20 billion, 30 billion for Ford and for Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford.
Yeah, we'll say that again because we're taping for the film. But I want to be clear here. They're now calling for $750 billion, admitting that the green taxes are to be paid into the banks. So that's another $750 billion. The IMF World Bank are saying they want $500 billion this week at the G20. So explain that. We're talking 30 to 50 to 1.
Yeah, I think that's the general profile of Obama is it's about 10 trillion, 11 trillion, maybe 12 trillion by now for the banks, only for the banks, for banks, stock brokerages, credit card companies, money markets, mutual funds, basically meaning all derivatives bandits of all stripes. And then compared to that, the useful spending in the stimulus package is about 300 billion, maybe 350 billion. So call it 30 to 1, but we may be closer to 40 to 1, we may be getting up to 50 to 1. So for every dollar that the American people and production receive, we got about $40 to $50 for the banking community. So that's not socialism. That's the corporate state of the Mussolini variety.
Okay, take your time. Start over. Get into what's really happening, what his incredible announcements mean, where he says, look, I know it's already been painful, but, quote, it's going to be even more painful concessions, but I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you by taking you from $25 an hour to $12 an hour and robbing the benefits you've been paying in for. So this is pension fund robbing. We know Bush changed the rules 6 years ago so they could do this. They're now moving to do it.
The auto industry today, Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, represents about a century of American history. Think about all the generations of working families, UAW families that have contributed to that. Think about the great labor battles of the 1930s, right? The sit-down strikes with Walter Reuther and the UAW. Think about the Toledo Auto Lights strike. Think about the time that Henry Ford got the mayor of Flint to set up machine guns on an overpass so that a march of workers couldn't get close to the Ford plants, and that actually opened fire, machine gunning American workers. So this union had to be built on these struggles. In other words, that's something that all of us have a stake in. Then on the other side, of course, the technology. This is where the B-17s were built, the tanks were built in World War II. These are the factories that stopped fascism around the world, right? Built all the stuff that the Soviets used during World War II under Lend-Lease. So all of that is now going to be destroyed. Now, you're approaching something, I think, important. The moment of thermodynamic collapse of the United States, so-called heat death of this economy. You reach a point, and we've kind of had a brush with it in the last couple of days, right? Suppose everything begins to fail at once. Suppose the trains don't run. The trains come to a halt. The subways come to a halt. The airplanes have all got mechanical defects. They don't fly. The electric grid goes down, the system of food distribution begins to collapse, and everything implodes. The only way you get out of that is by having industrial capabilities. Now, what Obama has done today, by saying no money for General Motors, no money for Chrysler, essentially, Chrysler now has 30 days to live. This is absolutely crazy. So we're approaching the point of thermodynamic collapse. Now, let me just say something. We got to focus also not only on what they do, what do we want to do? My program for the auto industry goes like this. Nationalize them. Protect them from the hyena creditors, especially Chrysler. Chrysler is owned by a hedge fund, Cerberus fund. Rip it out of their hands, nationalize it. Then at that point, kick out the current management and put in industrial engineers who would be competent managers of production. You've got to wipe out derivatives wherever they exist, right? General Motors Acceptance Corporation is full of derivatives. Wipe that out. That's part of your general campaign to wipe out derivatives wherever they're found. And then reconvert those plants. Not to build gangrene cars, right? Not to build these crazy things with batteries that go 30 miles at 20 miles an hour. You could build nuclear plants. You can build tractors for the third world. You can build maglev railway. You can build rolling stock for modern railroads. And you can build equipment for a space program, if you're talking about exploration, colonization, and industrial production on the moon, Mars, and other nearby objects,
and
you're
you
going to
see,
need
people
a
don't
ton
understand
of stuff.
that people don't understand that either humans are upwardly mobile, we're either innovating, or we're collapsing, and this is understood by the establishment. When we come back, I want you to go through, like you did in that taping we did yesterday, the 4 different systems of getting
the Lautenbach.
Yes, let's go through that because there's this schizophrenia and this mental gymnastics, this fraud that goes on out there. I'm against big government. Let me explain something. I'm against big government financing to carry out eugenics and tell black women they can't have their man in the house to get money so that they can break down their families and have 90% in legitimacy, which is a government plan. But I am for, if you're going to have government, the only thing it should be doing is building giant industrial bases, railways. I've had family that works in the railroad system. We haven't had the railways fixed in 100 years. We have worse than third world countries. Everything is rotting. And so when you build roads, when you build industry, when you build factories, it then creates wealth for the people to then spend at your car dealership, to spend at your Mexican food restaurant, to spend at your clothier. I mean, this is how real economies work, instead of this post-industrial society where we do have fascism, all the money goes to private banks, then they use it to buy up industry and turn it off because they want a total feudal dictatorship to control populations. This is Malthusian eugenics. You agree. It's in their own documents. You're a scholar. I research. We come to the same conclusion. So I want to go through the von Mies people and all of them, and I say that's preferable to the big state with the evil eugenicist in control. But then what's preferable to that even more is I think kind of a hybrid with what we call the free market and what you're doing, because there is no such thing. Here's these phony conservatives saying we cannot give money to Ford and GM, we cannot give money to Chrysler, this is socialism, but then meanwhile they support trillions of dollars to foreign offshore banks with made-up derivative crap they just pulled out of the air with, it's not even a Ponzi scheme, it's a illusion like a magician. And so the issue here is you have the false fiat economy, the banking economy, that's now 40% of the world, when it should be about 1% of the world, sucking like a black hole the whole real economy into it. And so if we're going to have, imagine 12 trillion invested in infrastructure instantly, the economy would explode. There'd be bulging money in all of our pockets. Right. There'd be a real economy. So we're going to go over that versus what Obama's doing when we get back.
Alex Jones here with a question. What does humidity mean to you? Most people think of hot and sticky summer days, but many people are beginning to realize that humidity can be a valuable source of pure drinking water. That's why I'd like you to visit acolablue.com. Acola Blue is a state-of-the-art atmospheric water generator producing purified drinking water from the humidity in the air using reverse osmosis and a 5-stage carbon and UV light filtration system, which produces great tasting water at an unbeatable price. Finally, drinking water that you control. I use one every day. Say goodbye to expensive water delivery services and storing 5-gallon bottles of water in your home. The Acola Blue 28 is shipped right to your home, ready to make close to 7 gallons a day, right out of the box. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Call Acola Blue right now at 1-800-691-6043. That's 1-800-691-6043. Or visit Acola Blue at ECOLOBLUE.com today.
In the New World Order's war against humanity, Barack Obama is the tip of the spear.
We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
The Obama deception completely destroys the myth that Obama is working for the best interest of the American people.
Well, Obama's already fudging. He's fudged since day one in this election.
If you have a demagogue with a fanatical mass movement of personality cultists who is imposing the program of a group of extreme bankers and finance oligarchs, that's fascism.
It's not about left or right. It's about a one-world government. This film documents who Obama works for, the lies he has told, and his real agenda. Get your copy of The Obama Deception today at Infowars.com or download it in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv. The Obama Deception. The people strike back.
The new world order beast is genetically modifying your food. Genetically modifying. Mixing vegetables with animals. And now experimenting with viruses. Without a long-term food solution, you will have just two options. Starve or surrender. All canned food supplies will eventually run out. What then? Grow your own healthy food and feed your family forever. SurvivalistSeeds.com is now the nation's largest bulk heirloom seed company, and it's owned by a real patriot, Big John Lipscomb. You can now have an infinite amount of healthy vegetables like a watermelon, a bundle of carrots, or tomatoes for a little more